All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Walking Dead video. For this one, we're going to focus on talking about the new series, The Walking Dead World Beyond, what it can learn from the original series and from Fear, as well as give our thoughts on a Screen Rant article about possible Walking Dead spin-off mistakes to avoid. Okay, and I'll put the link in the description to screenrant.com first so you guys can go ahead and take a look at this article, which I thought was pretty interesting. I do think it's a good idea for an article, and we'll kind of give our own thoughts on it afterwards and some things that we think will work in the new Walking Dead series, World Beyond, and maybe some things that won't. So this is the way they phrased it, kind of in a negative way to start. It says, Fear the Walking Dead mistakes the new Walking Dead spinoff must avoid. So it says World Beyond is the Walking Dead second spinoff, but Fear the Walking Dead has already struggled. What lessons can be learned from the new series, or what lessons can the new series learn from it? So Walking Dead World Beyond, then we've got, you know, the prior Fear, minus Alicia's not here, should be somewhere, you know, and then maybe Daniel too, and then we got Morgan over here and not Dwight yet. But so it says Walking Dead is set to launch its second spinoff shortly. Here are all the Fear the Walking Dead mistakes World Beyond needs to avoid. The Walking Dead's first spinoff launched in 2015 with the intention of exploring the zombie apocalypse in its earliest days, before Rick Grimes awoke from his coma. As the plot advanced, Fear the Walking Dead quickly caught up to its parent series, and eventually the two became intertwined, with characters crossing from one to the other, despite increasing in relevance to the main series. Fear the Walking Dead has generally struggled, both in terms of inconsistent reviews and sliding viewership. But to be fair, the original series has had significant sliding viewership as well too in the last few years, down to like a third of what it was at one time. So I don't know, you know, what we can really say about that. But here's some of the stuff that they had. So take a different tone to The Walking Dead. It says it seems only logical that if a franchise has three shows on TV simultaneously, they should at least feel like distinctly unique entities. But this isn't something that can often be said about Fear the Walking Dead. Although the original early outbreak setting served to differentiate the spinoff from the main series, that novelty soon wore off, and as the zombie apocalypse took hold on the world, Fear the Walking Dead began to wander into distinctly familiar territory. Attempts were made to separate the two. Fear the Walking Dead Season 2 takes place mostly at sea, for example, but inevitably there was only so long the spinoff could hold out before falling into the same bleak, gritty horror pigeonhole as its predecessor. Okay, so let's give our thoughts on that one first. So a different tone. I mean, this is yes and no, right? I mean, you kind of have to find probably a Goldilocks zone for it, and kind of, you don't want it to be too different from the original series and too completely different in terms of tone, because it's supposed to be the same universe, but at the same time maybe you don't want it exactly the same. I think Fear, I mean, obviously it depends which season you're talking about for Fear and its different tones that it's had. Of course, the original showrunning team, the first three seasons with Dave Erickson, were much different than, you know, kind of the current direction is now, and with Morgan now. Even them mixing in some comedy and stuff like that, which has kind of allowed them to sort of find their own kind of place there. But, you know, it's tricky, right? Because you don't, like they're saying here, like it should be completely different, or all three of the series should be completely different. Well, maybe they should be slightly different, but it's still the same universe. So it kind of has to be at least within proximity, I think, to each other, especially if they're going to be in the same country and they're going to use the Walking Dead title. They have to kind of, and if they're going to cross over, they have to be kind of similar in some ways. Now, with Fear, of course, for the first three seasons, you know, maybe they just felt like it wasn't working, so they wanted to kind of make it a little bit more like The Walking Dead, and they did the crossover and all that too. So, you know, I personally, for me, I don't think that it has to be, I don't think it should be too different from the original Walking Dead. It's kind of, you kind of have to find a space that feels right? A Goldilocks zone, just right. So we'll see about that. So they do mention about them casting a string of younger actors, which is good. It's also good if the series continues on a long time, because you can see them kind of grow and kind of develop as time goes on. For the ones that survive, obviously they can't all survive. Then it says, do what The Walking Dead can't. So with each passing season, Walking Dead has borrowed more and more from the original show, from enemy groups who are the saviors in all but name, but directly lifting Gabriel's origin story. for the rabbi character, which, okay, well, it wasn't directly, but it was pretty close. Fair point there. Okay, a fair point there. But, it's going to be difficult to kind of come up with, unique storylines after they've done 200 episodes of Walking Dead if you add in Fear's numbers to the original series as well, right? So it's going to be kind of tricky there. Establish a lead protagonist. Yeah, I don't know, kinda, but then again, that didn't really work so well for The Walking Dead. I got a picture of Rick here. It's like he just left. I mean, so as much as you can have a protagonist, and that's good. Yeah, okay, yeah, I guess World Beyond should probably have its own protagonist, or maybe a few, just in case anyone decides to peace out, right? So don't change focus halfway through is what they got here for this one. Okay, well, okay, here's what they did, right? And then they have Travis here as well too, but he had to leave for what was it, the Avatar movies or what have you, so we can't even really count that. That's not like anything, what are you going to do, force someone to work on the series if they get a better deal? Of course not. It's not slave labor either, but they decided to change it up. Maybe they decided after season 3 it wasn't doing to what they thought it could do, and maybe it could do better, or they just had a bigger idea that could connect with the movies and all this other stuff and build out more of the Walking Dead name. And so that's what they decided to do with all the crossovers and everything. So, it's like, well, okay, they changed it, but we have the first 3 seasons. We can still watch them if you want to. And even if it would have been cool to see that kind of go on further, what happens. So we'll see for the other series. But if it changes showrunners too, it's going to feel different too. Every time you have a different showrunner for the series and a different team, it's going to feel a lot different. Even The Walking Dead originally with Frank Darabont, it's a lot different than kind of how it feels right now with Angela Kang, and Scott Gimple was different from that. So they all have their own kind of different things. So make better use of villains. So this one's probably fair, right? For Fear, I would have liked to see more from Troy. I thought he was great, right? He was a great villain, man. I wish they could. He got hammer time, so it made for an exciting end to season 3. But I thought it would be pretty cool if they could have, kept him on longer, done something with him. I don't know. That was cool. Who's the best villain for Fear that we've had? Maybe Taka? I'm not sure. Possibly when he started out as a villain, or Troy. I would have liked to see more of Troy. He was really good. So that's a good point, that the new series should have some really standout villains. That's true, and I'm not sure about Elizabeth. I think she might be a villain possibly, or a leader of the community that might not be good. She's wearing all black, so anytime you see someone wearing all black, you're like, okay, probably a villain. Not always the case, but a lot of times. And then don't take in The Walking Dead strays. Oh man, I disagree. Okay, wait, what? I cannot disagree with this one more. Okay, I understand reviews and stuff, but how could it be a mistake to give Morgan and Dwight over to Fear to help bolster Fear and help give Fear more of a reason for people to watch? So you have people that are channel surfing through and around, and they see, during the summer, let's say, and they see Fear on, or they see Morgan, and they think, oh, Morgan, okay, there's zombies. Okay, cool, it's Walking Dead. I want to check this out. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world to take someone like Morgan, bring him into Fear, to take Dwight, to bring him in Fear. If you're not going to use him in the original Walking Dead series, I mean, what's the alternative? What, you just kill them off in the original Walking Dead series if it's not working out? Or I don't know. I mean, I guess some people would miss seeing them in the original series. That's true. But you can't, I can't imagine in any way that it could have hurt. I can only think that it would have just helped Fear even more. Now, you can argue for the Madison situation, because when Morgan came in, they sort of shortly afterwards, killed off Madison. So you can make that argument that, okay, maybe you'd like to see Madison there as the core front character instead of Morgan. But at the same time, you can't. I mean, it's pretty obvious that he's going to bring viewers to the series. It's pretty obvious that if people, see it, they're going to be like, oh, okay, cool. There's some familiarity there because he's such a big character from the original series. And if the original series is not going to use Dwight anymore, they don't have anything for him, well, you cross him over, or what do? You kill him off, right? Is one of the two. Or you just let him go in the background, we never see him again. And fans don't like that either. I get questions every day about Heath now. It's like, and there was the Morales talk for what, freaking 7 years or something? It's ridiculous. So I totally disagree with this one. I do not think crossovers or crossover characters hurt the series. I think, if anything, these two especially have helped Fear as much as anybody. And if they're setting up the third series to be kind of a crossover series with the movies and with the others, then I can't see crossing people in between or whatever, how that could be bad. I can only think that that could be good for, you know, any of the series to kind of benefit each other and kind of just bolster, you know, it just gives you more options, gives you more to work with, gives you more things that you can do. So I don't agree with that one at all. So let me know what you guys think about that article in the comments below, and what your comments are as far as what you think the new series can kind of learn from the other Walking Dead series. Now that one was focused on Fear the Walking Dead, but there's no reason why it can't also learn from the original series, and the original series has had even more seasons than Fear has as well too, obviously. So I just thought of a couple off the top of my head of some things that they could kind of you know, take to start with from the experience of you know, doing the other series that they've done already. So here's some of mine that I think could be good. So number one, I think, is make them sign longer contracts just in case. I'm pretty sure the original Walking Dead contracts were like 8 years or something like that. But of course, if you guys remember, that's when we started having all the problems on The Walking Dead. Now, now Fear has not gotten to this point yet. Maybe they will later on, but I would say it right away to start with. Make them sign long contracts in case AMC wants to do the series a long time and World Beyond becomes a hit or it does well. One of the best things they could do if they can. I don't know the legal ramifications of it and how long you could do it for. But the 8 years original thing in the Walking Dead series, you can't help but think to yourself, if they had longer contracts or they had something like that to start with, if it's doable, I don't know legally if it's doable, but if they could have, you know, it brings to question if Andrew Lincoln would have left, this whole thing. I don't know. It's kind of working out anyway because the movies are going to be cool and we're looking forward to that. So they're making it work anyway, but that's an easy thing they could probably do, is make them sign as long contracts as they can, because they don't know who could become a Daryl or a Carol or somebody like that, and they might not be able to anticipate that ahead of time, right? So that's a good one, an easy one, because once everyone's contracts started ending, that's when, you know, the last couple of years, that's when it's like, you know, Andrew Lincoln leaves, and then Lauren's coming back, but she left, and then of course Denai's leaving and everything. It's like, yeah, I know. But even if you do anyway, you know, they might want to leave anyway, get other contracts or whatever. So, but it's just a little thing you could probably do, right, to start. Another one I got here is start with more characters in the onset, so later on you don't run out of characters. And I'm working on a video for the Christmas special for this year, extended Walking Dead video. It's like half an hour long or so. It's almost done for you guys, so that'll be scheduled for the Christmas video for this year. So look forward to that. Weekend before Christmas, I've got that set for you guys, so we'll go into that. But I was looking through some of the older pictures of The Walking Dead, like the first season, and literally the promotionary poster from the first season, as of this date, because Rick has left now. If you count Rick as still being alive out there, fine. But he's the only one left on the original Walking Dead season 1 poster. And if you don't count him, because he's not in the series anymore, he's going to be in the movies, there's 0. There's 0 because Daryl and Carol were not originally on the posters when they started off The Walking Dead. They were kind of background characters, and nobody really knew that they were going to become fan favorites and stuff like that, and survive on in the long term. So that's kind of a funny one to think of. But start with more kind of characters at the beginning. And then as the seasons go through and you have character deaths and some die off and whatever, if you start off with a good number, it makes it easier later on to kind of still have some around. Whereas if you start off with hardly any, you know, that does become a problem later on, right? For sure. So, and I think Game of Thrones is a series, not Zombie Apocalypse. Well, actually it kind of is with the White Walkers and stuff in some ways. One thing they did really good is they start off with a ton of characters at the beginning, like just a ton of characters. It was almost hard to keep up with all the different introductions and character names and different houses and everything. But because they started off with so many, as the seasons went on, it was like you still had some of those originals still around. Whereas the original Walking Dead is getting pretty close now to like, you know, like almost none, like Daryl and Carol, right? So, and Morgan and Fear. So we got to count him too. He was there in the beginning too. So, and then of course for Fear you have Alicia, you have Strand, you have Daniel. So that as well too. But if you start off with a bunch in the new series, then it's probably not so bad if it goes on longer, right? So that's a good one. Don't bottle off too many character episodes, because I always get, like, every time they do one of those, people just complain, or at least a lot of the time, right? When they do like the bottled off episodes, right? People hate those. So That's another one that I got. And then I'd like to see for them to do like a long-term. Okay, so you guys know what they did with Shane in the original Walking Dead series, where he starts off and he's kind of a hero with the rest, and he's having his arguments with Rick or whatever and the others. He's kind of a hothead, but eventually he becomes like a full-on villain trying to kill Rick and everything. So I'd like to see them do something like that, maybe with one of the younger characters of World Beyond. So you take maybe like the Karate Kid, right? I don't know. I forget what his name is. I haven't seen yet, but maybe you take one of the younger characters and you do like a long-term villain origin story for him. So you have one of the characters that starts off with the rest of the group at the beginning, kind of go rogue and become like a major series villain later on. I think that could be something they could do, but you wouldn't do it in like the first 2 years. Maybe you do like a slow one, like it takes several years. And like you do something like that, like because in the original Walking Dead series, they never really did like a comic book Carl character. So if they could do something like that in World Beyond, for some reason the Karate Kid with the black hair, kind of reminds me of Carl in some ways. So so I don't know, something like that. So those are just a few things that I thought of, kind of to start things off with some of the things Walking Dead World Beyond could kind of take from the others. But all around, I mean, I think if you're going to do a crossover series where it's in close proximity to the others and it's connected to the CRM or the Commonwealth or however this is going to work out with the movies and everything, crossovers are good. I don't think crossovers are bad. If you're going to do it different, you might as well do like a totally different country or something like that. But they did that in Fear with Mexico, and it was okay, I guess, in terms of the response. But I'd like to see one, like I've always said, in the UK. And I just found out that Black Summer, which is a Netflix series that did a zombie apocalypse Netflix series, which is like mediocre at best. It's not, I wouldn't say it's at Walking Dead levels, or anywhere close to it, really. I think it's one of the highest viewed series. It got renewed for season 2. The first season was one of the highest viewed series in the UK, so they love them some zombies over in the UK. So if they did something like that, Walking Dead eventually, that could be cool. But it's got to kind of be like, if you're going to do it totally separate, you kind of have to do it totally separate. This series sounds like it's going to be a heavily crossed over type of series, because we're getting to see a community that eventually will work its way into the others, probably too. The original Walking Dead television series and Fear as well too. So so it's like, the more crossovers you do, probably the better for it. It's a crossover series, so you might as well use it as much as you can. So those are just some things I thought of for Walking Dead World Beyond. What would you guys like to see for it? Leave your comments below. What are some things you think that they could learn from the original Walking Dead series and from Fear that they can apply to World Beyond and kind of set it up for win in the beginning? Let me know what you guys think. If you liked the video, please thumb it up below. You can share, you can favorite, and you can subscribe at the bottom left if you're new. That's it for this one. See you guys again soon for another. As always, this is Trev saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.